And we are back with another week of the Let's Talk About It podcast.
Woo woo.
This is
Ew.
episode 22 now, I believe, sir.
22.
And,
Yeah.
and for once, I'm leading the intro because we are all separated this week thanks to police curfew in our city.
Yeah. To put it into perspective, we're currently recording this episode at 7:25 p.m., which means in 35 minutes the curfew starts, and we can get arrested for just driving out on the road right now. So it's not a good time.
Unless you're going out to spend money.
Yep.
Oh well, I didn't know that. But anyway,
If you actually were read it, it literally says you can do anything.
Yeah, it's literally the same as the COVID lockdown, but now all the stores are all freaking out, so a lot of the stores are still closing at 8, so you won't have an excuse to be at a store.
Yeah, to double check, I was checking my federal government documents here from the Cyber and Infrastructure Security Agency, and they expired on May 28th, so I can't use those.
Boo.
Feels bad, man. But I actually really wanted to go around driving just to see if I would get stopped by the police, just so I can show them the papers. I'd be like, I'm part of CISA, sir, so I need to go check on my server.
Alrighty, well, I know we all got a slew of news. Pedro, would you like to start as per usual, sir?
Per usual, of course. Let me go ahead, and I have a handful of stories, lots of little stories this week, though. Nothing too crazy happened. But I thought I'd start off with a story that I'm sure a lot of people will see that is a breath of fresh air from me, because I usually bag on Apple and iPhones and stuff like that. But this week we're actually bagging on Android, because apparently there is an Android bug that happens when you apply a certain image as your background on any Android phone. It soft bricks your phone. Actually,
I seen this. I was laughing about this the other day.
I know.
So
I know.
bad soft brick is, and you got to format or just hold power.
So it's like.
Well, I guess as long as your background's that image, huh?
Yeah, so you have to background this particular image. It's like a landscape. And then so what happens is that you set it as your background image, and then your phone freezes. And then when you try to reboot, it gives you the yellow Android caution boot error.
That's reset time.
Yeah, you have to reset your phone. So it's really weird, and it's like almost 100% effective for all Samsung models specifically. So I gotta watch out there. For my phone, for my Note 9. Apparently, even if the picture is in full display, like a full screen mode picture that you look up on your phone, that can cause the crash too. So you gotta be very, very.
So you
careful.
want to test it out? Just pull it up on the internet.
Yeah. Let me just pull it up on my phone real quick. I'll let you know if it bricks the phone. But apparently, some people have been using this as a prank to brick people's phones as well. But yeah, it's really weird. Well, apparently, what causes the crash is that the system UI, process that goes on in the phone, can only handle sRGB images for the wallpaper and doesn't have any check against non-sRGB wallpapers. And this can actually force crash the image process helper, process there in the Android system. And that's what causes the crash there. And so because this is when it's set as your background image, when the phone tries to boot again, it can't, because that same image causes that same error right at the boot time. So it really screws things up. So I thought that was pretty funny there. Apparently there's some patches that have already been released by the team over at Lineage OS, formerly known as CyanogenMod, which is the leading mod and ROM team for custom Android ROMs there. So
didn't know they were formerly CyanogenMod. I used to use their OS when I had an S2.
Yeah, CyanogenMon was the shiz, man. And then they rebranded to Lineage. I want to say like maybe 5 years ago, 4 years
Hmm.
ago. It's been quite a while, and I have not been keeping up with the Android custom ROM, stuff for a while.
It's
So
I I don't. I mean, maybe. Well, I guess for me and you, it's similar. Like, I think we like to upgrade too much, and the Android hacking and custom ROMs is too specific to each individual phone that it's hard to follow when you upgrade.
yeah, yeah, and it also takes a lot of work that's completely community funded. Like people donate
Yeah,
their spare time to it. So
I
as
I
Android gets
think.
better, the need for custom ROMs, becomes less and less. And then
Yeah, I
you
think the
know,
phone I have actually doesn't even have any kind of custom ROMs because it's so locked down that way. Like they can't exploit or can't install or something.
yeah, yeah, apparently having that community is useful because they patch bugs like this one, for the photo, and apparently it's going to be completely patched out for Android 11, which we should see later this year. So in the meantime, just don't apply that certain image as your background on Android if you want to keep on using your phone. So keep that
How about
in
you just
mind.
don't tell me how to live my life?
I mean, you can crash your phone if you want. This is a free country, so. But moving on from that little story here, more smartphone news. Global smartphone sales have plummeted 20% in quarter one of this year, thanks to COVID-19, which is actually not a big surprise there. The actual number is 20.2% versus the cell phone sales in quarter one of last year. And of course, the big thing to blame here is the COVID-19 pandemic. Um, with the with the overall downtick in sales here, we actually see a slight increase for the phone company Xiaomi, which, mind you, is a Chinese company, and they saw a 1.4% increase in smartphone sales this year. Um, but the other companies such as Samsung, Huawei, and Apple all saw double-digit drop-offs from 22.7%, 27.3%, and 19.1% respectively, and Apple declined 8.2%. And so
Jeez.
averaging out, it's like 24.2% from just those companies alone, barring Apple's number, of course, because Apple's on a league of their own. Um, there's lots of factors that go into this, notably, COVID-19 causing an economic crash ish kind of, situation there where people don't really have enough money to buy phones. And then, of course, the supply chain disruption there for all of, semiconductor, parts from China. The factories have slowed down production of those essential components for any electronic. Um, and so when the factories are running full speed and producing these parts, the next struggle that they have to, kind of hurdle over is the fact that a lot of the boats from China that would usually be shipping those essential parts and completed components over to the US for assembly, or for packaging or redistribution and sales, those boats are currently, full, with a lot of PPE equipment, stuff for preventing the spread of coronavirus here in the U.S. So I can definitely attest to that because my job uh, just ordered 960,000 disposable face masks, and they're currently like 30 boxes in my office of just face masks. And that's ridiculous because there's like 5 of us in the office currently, but that's of course for everyone to return to the office when that time comes. But yeah, so interesting numbers there for cell phones. Um, Next item here in the tech news is actually a Google leak. So there was leaked renders of the Google Android TV streaming device and remote, and there's also a leaked video about what it looks like. So funny enough, this new device, in the leaked promo videos, shows like a little like egg-shaped, or like a flat egg-shaped device that's actually rumored to replace Chromecast devices as a whole, and be a fully featured Android TV streaming puck, so to speak. Of course, it's going to have Chromecast built into it, and it's really meant to compete with the full-on like Roku devices that have their own OS built into it, like that. So um, I think that's really good news. I love Android TV. My Nvidia Shield. I'm sad that I sold it. and that I got rid of it because I actually kind of want to buy another one. But this particular device that was leaked, the code name for it is Sabrina, which is weird. I don't know why they nickname it Sabrina. It doesn't follow the usual naming convention for a lot of Google's leaked devices. Like, there's a common fish theme for all the Pixel devices and the Nexus devices that preceded them. But as far as other information on this leaked device, it's going to come with a remote control as well. That is kind of like a rectangle with rounded points on both sides, and it actually features like an iPod, like a classic iPod Classic kind of like scroll wheel as a control function on there. And of course, it has the usual Android buttons on there as well. There's a Google Assistant button, there's a back button, a home button, and there's volume buttons as well as a play pause and a favorites button on there too. So I expect the iteration of Android TV on there to kind of have the favorites button built in for maximum functionality. Otherwise, it'd be really weird to include that in the remote control. As far as pricing for this, this device, the rumored pricing is that it's going to be below $80. Basically, that's the rumor because that's what it would have to be in order to be competitive with similar Roku and Apple TV devices. It also makes sense because the usual Chromecast devices, with the exception of the Chromecast Ultra right now, are priced below that. So it would slot itself very comfortably in the market. It's rumored to actually release alongside the Pixel 4a later on in July. After that launch was delayed a couple of times already. It was supposed to come out early June, but we have not had any announcement for the Pixel 4a. So keep your heads poked out for July for this device as well as the Pixel 4a. Next story here is actually one that I'm a little salty about, and it's about AT&T. As you guys may know, HBO Max has launched, and it's a streaming service that a lot of people have enjoyed so far. There's lots of good content on there, from what I understand. I don't have HBO Max, so I can't personally attest to that. But apparently, there's some drama going on because AT&T has exempted HBO from counting towards your data cap if you have AT&T based internet, which is actually something that was supposed to be prevented by the laws that were recently passed here in the U.S. About net neutrality. So this is exactly the type of thing that net neutrality was supposed to, prevent from happening, which is something that that can be considered anti-competitive.
I actually didn't know that because a while back I was doing customer service for T-Mobile, and I remember it being a big thing. Well, I guess that was further back. It does have to do with the recent laws, but yeah, like T-Mobile used to do that. It was just video streaming in general, though. It wasn't like a specific provider, but like video streaming, they had it come through a certain way to where it didn't count towards your data either. You didn't have an unlimited plan. But I didn't know that was actually something that they had passed laws to stop. I thought that was just standard.
Right. So if we remember, the whole net neutrality thing really, allows companies to kind of discriminate in between types of data that's being transmitted through the internet, right? They say that it's supposed to be fair when in reality that gives particularly ISPs, internet service providers, the tools necessary in order to sort the data and kind of manage it that way, which can be something that consumers aren't too excited about for this particular reason. Now, the catch is that AT&T actually owns HBO, and so that's the real kicker here. That because AT&T is exempting its own service from counting towards data caps, that can be seen as anti-competitive or really controversial here. So, it's am I salty about that? Yes. T-Mobile's approach on making video streaming in general, that's much more of a that's a much more competitive feature. When compared to AT&T just using that for HBO Max, especially if AT&T is trying to expand its own interest in getting people to hop onto HBO Max. So far, there hasn't been any repercussions so far. But do I expect something to happen? Yes and no. Yes, because net neutrality is so controversial already and has been for a long time. And no, because the eyes of the U.S. legislators are currently on more pressing matters, more destructive matters per se. So
Yeah.
we have to kind of wait and see, because to me this is kind of slap in the face and consumers when net neutrality was poised as this consumer friendly, consumer protecting set of laws. And then we see crap like this happen, and it's like, well, thanks for nothing, guys. Like all we've done is seen an increase on our internet prices, for anti-competitive speeds, and with less choices now more than ever. And that's just I don't like it. I don't think a lot of people like it, but it is what it is, and it is what we have to deal with. Moving on from that story, our weekly AMD story. What kind of Let's Talk About It podcast would it be without an AMD story? But this week's story is actually more news on AMD's Big Navi product. And so this news comes from the Bank of America Securities Global Technology Conference, in the which, AMD, representatives from AMD were in attendance there. And AMD's specifically CFO, Devinder Kumar, was there, and he stated that he admitted that there's a lot of excitement for Navi 2, or what our fans have dubbed as Big Navi. And after that, he said, Big Navi is our Halo product, and enthusiasts love to buy the best, and we are certainly working on giving them the best. He also reinstated that the AMD remains on track to launch the next generation Zen 3 CPUs and RDNA GPUs in late 2020. Um, he also said that the new RDNA 2 architecture is going to go through the entire stack of these upcoming AMD GPUs, and that specifically the GPUs would be here on time, before the end of the year, and even before the next generation of consoles comes out. So before the Xbox Series X and before the PlayStation 5. So they're really, really close. We should be seeing numbers pop up for tests of these. We would say we've already seen a couple for the new Ryzen refresh, the XT series of processors that we talked about in previous episodes. Well, we haven't really seen a lot about Big Navi. We've seen some supposedly leaked benchmarks on that a couple months back, I want to say. But nonetheless, they're really, really close, and I'm really excited because I want to have a new build with these new parts, just to have a new AMD build. They're really lined up to be really, really competitive, even more so than they have been the last 3 years. So that's my personal investment in these parts. Let's see here. I have one more story here for us, and it's actually another Google story. And this one's actually hot off the press, from a couple days ago. But Google is in a $5 billion lawsuit for tracking people even in incognito mode. So the lawsuit is specifically against Google and its mommy and daddy company Alphabet. And so this is specifically for data that was being tracked in incognito mode for users in the United States. And specifically, the allegations are that Google was not up in front about all of the information that is tracked when people are in incognito mode. And of course, Google denies that it's illegal and says that it's upfront about the data it collects in this mode. But the class action lawsuit includes millions, quote unquote millions, of Google users who since the 1st of June of 2016 browse the internet in private mode, according to Boyes Schiller Flexner, which is the law firm. Try saying that 15 times fast. And they filed the claim on Tuesday in federal court in San Jose, California. Just to give some background on how incognito mode kind of functions. It's the mode within Google Chrome's browsers that gives users the choice to search the internet without their activity being saved on the browser or device. So like cookies aren't saved, passwords aren't saved, and website history is not saved. but the websites visited can use tools such as Google Analytics to track usage while you're in incognito mode. And that is not local data that's stored in your browser or on your device. So the complaint says that Google cannot continue to engage in the covert and unauthorized data collection from virtually every American with a computer or phone. Google has snapped back at that statement by saying, as we clearly state, each time you open a new incognito tab, websites might be able to collect information about your browsing activity. And that's exactly what it says. If you open a Google Chrome browser and open incognito mode, right under the incognito logo there, it clearly says, those exact words there.
Yeah, I just opened it to see, and yeah, it's plain as day.
Yeah, so I mean, but who really reads that, right? But even if this lawsuit doesn't go through, it actually brings a lot of attention about how, to people about how exactly their data is processed and how it's used, on a day-to-day basis, and specifically for incognito mode. Because let's be honest, who uses incognito mode, whether it's because they want to research a product that they don't want their significant other knowing that they're searching for XYZ reason, or you're just going to watch porn. Like, that's incognito mode usage right there. So this is going to be interesting to kind of follow this lawsuit and see how it plays out. Do I expect it to go through? No, I think Google's going to win pretty handily. But if it gets the coverage that it should get, I think it's going to make people realize exactly what incognito mode does, because it's at this point it's kind of a meme, to be honest. About there's that incognito meme and FBI agent meme that it's like the FBI agent is can't see something or something because someone's in mode, and that's exactly not the case there. But that's why it's a meme, because that's kind of an powers of incognito mode. But that's how people see it. That the incognito mode blocks everything, and that's definitely not the case. So that's really all the news stories I got this week. So I'll let one of you guys take the reins of the podcast from here.
All right.
You want to go ahead since
Ruben,
you got a short one? I got a bit of a long one.
Yeah, I was gonna say I've got two really short ones. And we'll let you finish it off. Shit, I closed my webpage. Good thing I already know what they are. So first, recently, for anybody who follows the YouTube sphere, Jake Paul was arrested in Arizona for looting in Scottsdale.
Idiot.
Yeah. He released a statement himself on it already, saying that he was just there to document what was going on. And I mean, have you guys seen any of the videos of him out there?
I have not.
No,
actually.
I have not seen him.
Like, the first clip is like him kind of hanging around, and there's people like breaking into a PF Chang's that's over there, and then one of them walks out with a bottle of vodka and like hands it to one of Jake Paul's crew members. And then he hands it to Jake Paul, and Jake Paul like walks off with it. He's still holding it in like a separate clip way later on, while they're all still like wilding out there. So, and then it goes and later shows him and his buddies walking through the mall, like the inside of the mall, while other people are going through all kinds of stores, breaking shit, throwing shit, taking shit, doing that, looting. It's looting.
Yeah, straight up.
And the entire time, he himself is not like on video explicitly doing anything, but at the same time, like, what was he doing there to begin with? He's not any kind of newscaster. He's not any kind of actual media, and he's there hanging out.
He's got to get them likes, bro.
Likes every day, bro. Yeah, he has like no business being there, in my opinion.
Even his brother came out and was like, his brother's words might not be exactly them, but it's pretty damn close, where I love my brother, but sometimes I absolutely do not like him.
What?
So a lot of YouTube people have been coming out talking about it and just kind of putting in their 2 cents. And it's a lot of the same kind of thing that you're hearing, though, is just like, why would you actually go there? If you have this platform and you have this following, why not use it to raise awareness in for like a good cause, you know, for like a good movement, to actually help instead of just, you know, using what other people are doing. Essentially what I do, I'm sure he was doing, was using what other people are doing, even just to hang out around the bullshit that's going on, because, like, don't get me wrong, it looks fun, but I'm not going to go out there and fuck around after hours in a mall where I know I shouldn't be to begin with.
Yeah, and it's like, I don't know, like the whole thing, just like, even if he is telling the truth that he was just there to document it, which I totally find 100% BS. It's guilt by association. Like, like you were there,
Exactly,
dude.
you
Like,
know?
you're seeing all this happen, and you know the situation that you're in with your fame on YouTube. So he doesn't exactly have the track record that's squeaky clean in order for him to really lie his way out of this one. And people are already going to automatically assume the worst of his presence there. So,
I
you're being
immediately already
irresponsible.
do. Don't, you know, I'll be upfront about that. I already assume the worst if he's there.
Yeah, I mean, and the same thing. Like, on top of that, like, why risk your image, dude? Like, if you're gonna go, if you're gonna be a part of these riots, that's clearly being documented, that it's the beginning of a movement throughout this whole country. Like, wouldn't you do a better job of masking yourself? Like, put something to cover your face, dude. Wear a hoodie. Do something. Like, people are gonna notice you wherever you go. That's the blessing and curse of fame and fortune, is that you're nothing is ever private, dude. You have to work your butt off in order to not be recognized, and like, he just doesn't respect that, and now
See,
he's suffering the consequences.
in my opinion, though, like, that kind of is his image. Is so there, it's a double-edged sword. Is that's how he blew up? Is being a jackass, being stupid, having fun. But there comes a time when you actually need to turn that around, because I was tired of it from the get-go, but now everybody's getting tired of it. Even his brother, who used to be a lot like him, turned around and is actually a lot more like, you don't hear about what Logan Paul did anymore. Now it's all Jake Paul.
Growing up.
So I don't know if maybe it's just not his time, if he's just not ready for it, or if he just thinks that that's how he's going to stay relevant forever. But, you know, like I said, yes, that is kind of his image, but there comes a time when he needs to change that.
Yeah, he's gonna outgrow that image, and then if he doesn't have, you know, if he doesn't learn and grow throughout a long period of time, he's gonna hit that wall hard, and the image is gonna shatter, and he's gonna be left with nothing.
Mm-hmm. So moving on from that, though, a little more lighthearted-ish, I guess, is Valorant just released and is getting, it's not like coordinated review bombed, but review bombed. Like, it's not like a specific group of people have come out and obviously targeted this game, but like, a lot of these reviews just are very same. So, yeah, I want to finish off with that one right there. But very first one I see, very raw game, matchmaking is broken, graphics still back in 1987, not worth your time. It's a brand new game that just released and came out of beta, so honestly, very raw game does make sense. I haven't had any issues personally in matchmaking, and graphically, sure it's not like a beautiful game, but it's not a bad game.
Graphically speaking, with what they were advertising and how they spoke about the game, it's graphically better than what I was expecting.
Right, and see, that's the other thing too, is like, not all of these reviews are just zeros. Like, there is a few like of lower and middle scores that do seem to give some decent insight. 1 second. Okay, so like right here, its a score is 5 out of 10. Clean aesthetics, player is highly visible, which is perfect for competitive play. Guns are available regardless of attack or defense. The abilities are interesting, but it'll take time to see the meta really develop, which, yes, very true criticism, but not anything unexpected. There's not just going to be an instant meta, you know? then you kind of move on to these other ones, like right here. If this wannabe esports title would be a carbon copy of CSGO, it'd deserve 7 for effort.
Jeez.
It's not even close
Like-
to CS:GO, man.
It's, I mean, I honestly, it is close to CSGO, but that's kind of what I was expecting. I wasn't expecting a super expansive, essentially a Call of Duty experience for free to play anyways.
Again, too, when I was hearing about this game, everybody that I know was describing it as a cross between CSGO and Overwatch. So again, like, it's exactly what I was expecting.
Exactly.
There was no surprise.
And not in a bad way, because it plays really good and it handles really well. I don't think there's a problem with matchmaking, because every time I enter matchmaking, like, it doesn't take exceptionally long to find a game, and I haven't lagged out of a game once, so I haven't noticed any issues with that.
I play on a mobile hotspot and still I'm able to pop off now and then, like like, I don't, connection doesn't seem to be an issue. Matchmaking, even in the sense of, like, skill, I'll get my ass whooped 5 rounds in a row, but then we'll turn it around, win 7 rounds, and then lose the next 4, but then win the game after that. Like, it's very, very back and forth. It's tug of war. It's not... As much as it can be fun to steamroll your team in League, it's like, it's not... I don't feel like it's meant to be that way. It's not meant to be whoever wins the first 5 rounds is going to just plow through the rest of them for sure.
Come on, I know that from experience.
That's not the way. Yeah, I know. Yeah, Ruben and I have known that from experience. We played a total of 6 games together now, maybe 5.
And we've played about 6 and have won 2, I think.
Yikes! I was gonna omit that detail there, but okay. Yeah, it's definitely a long burn game. It's not meant. I mean, it's meant to be fast paced in the micro, but meant to be a grind in the macro. Every round that you play.
My very first game, like, I won my first game, but I didn't start a game of League because I thought Valorant would be faster and had to get to work soon.
It's also surprisingly, like, easy to catch on to. Like,
yes,
Pedro's not really a shooter type person, but he had games in there where he was going like 13-4, and like, so Jeez. I mean, it's not an exceptionally hard game, but yeah.
Yeah, if I can pick it up, anyone can pick it up. That's saying something.
So let me burn through some of these quick 0 reviews here just so you can see what else is on here. Colonel Ring AC can't stop cheats. Also doesn't uninstall with game and runs from boot, so will kill your FPS in other games. Piece of crap. I feel like I'm playing a cheap clone of Overwatch and CSGO. The game is slow and you don't feel the weapon at all. Gameplay is boring. I'll summarize it. This is a terrible game. Laggy, awful, clunky, boring, feels dead.
Man, there's so much.
What's this? The Paladins mixed with Counter-Strike. Poor copy of CS, and I'm not going to play a poor game like this. Maybe in future with some ATT, with some attention, I will try this game again. Then this game feels like trash, dumbed-down version of Counter-Strike. It's basically Chinese ripoff, full of cheaters and malware. It will ruin your PC and make other games don't run well. That one's my favorite one.
There is one stipe I have with this game, and that is, in terms of the weapons, to me, they don't feel majorly different one from the other.
Yeah, they absolutely do not. I totally agree.
But that so far is like my only issue with this game. Like, if you're looking at the 2 assault rifles, to me, they fire exactly the same. If you're looking at the regular semi-auto rifles, to me, they fire the same. Like,
yeah.
But that's literally the only thing that I have wrong with this game. Especially it being free, because, I mean, come on, it's free.
Yeah, like, that's the other part of, like, I don't understand why it's getting as much angry, blind rage, like, what seems to me blind rage as it's getting, is it's a free-to-play game.
I feel like a majority of the reviews are probably from people who don't typically play League and heard the next Counter-Strike is coming and just decided to jump on it.
I
True.
also feel so just some comments there from me. Um, specifically about the launcher for the game. I definitely feel like it's a very modern looking launcher, but I also feel like it's very clustered. Like there's lots of lines and lots of things to click on. Like I've only played 6 games, but I still have no idea how the launcher works or where I can look up, certain statistics or, what I own or what I've earned or what my XP on things are. Like, I even have trouble accepting invites from Ruben when he invites me into game because I don't know where anything in the UI is. I think the UI is a good base for looking very good, but I feel like it's really flustery right now.
Yeah, it definitely looks clean and simple, but finding things is kind of, you do kind of get lost in the sauce a bit.
Yeah, but that's easy to improve, and just like every other launcher, I'm sure
And
it's gonna
that
improve with time.
that's the other way to look at it too. Is like it's look at how long League has been going on for and how drastically it's changed. Go watch any game. Just go watch like a team fight when the meta was like everybody built a tank item, and watch how stupid fucking long everybody stays alive. Like, it's insane. And as much as I complain about getting one-shotted, like, the much faster pace and much more attention, attention required from the game, I appreciate all. It's good. So, like, if Valorant can get that same kind of treatment over time to where it does develop a meta, it does develop these little micro strategies that all play into the final end goal of the game, as opposed to what it is right now is essentially search and destroy. I don't mind it, but it's fun. It's a lot of fun, but there's a lot of potential there, and I don't see Riot being the company to drop a project very early on at all just because so many people dislike it.
Yeah, I doubt they're going to drop it. I'm very curious to see how often they're going to be adding in heroes because as it is now, there is only a handful, like 8 or 9 people to choose from.
Mm-hmm.
Um, so it's definitely going to be interesting, especially if Valorant and League are set in the same universe and you start seeing some more lore building.
I mean, you already have Gangplank in Valorant
Right.
under a different alias. He even has the same voice, dude.
And then the
Does he?
and then the mix up between the like mash between Akali and Yasuo on that one character, it seems like. You got anything else for us, Jason, sir?
No, that is all I have for you guys today, sir.
Any final thoughts on Valorant before I take over, Pedro?
I think it's fun. Everyone should give it. Everyone should play it for at least a day. Play 10 games before you decide whether it's for you or not. I'm not an FPS.
Start
I'm not
Spike
really
Rush.
much. Yeah, I'm not really much
Don't
of an
start
FPS
don't start
player,
a
but it's
regular
fun.
game for your first game.
I
Yeah.
had to start a regular game for my first game. When I tried to start Spike Rush, it wouldn't let me until I played my first game.
Oh, really?
Yeah. So I thought that was
Wild.
gonna be like the ranked mode. I was super confused for a second.
I think I remember seeing the message. I didn't know why. I think that might have been it then. Because I remember changing to unranked or whatever.
All right. Well, I will take over. First up on my stories, Sega is releasing a Game Gear Micro. 4 of them to be exact, all different colors and all having their own 4 games.
Yeah, emphasis on the micro. Those things are tiny.
Dude.
They sport a 1.1 inch screen.
Yeah, a 1.1 inch screen. The hardware itself is 80 millimeters by 43 millimeters by 20 millimeters, which is basically 3.14 inches by 1.6 inches by 0.78 inches. These things,
Why?
I have no idea. These things are tiny. They're gonna cost about $50 each. I'm guessing, as I've heard from a lot of people, it's probably more so for collectors because it is 4 of them. They're all different colors and all have their own games. But the 4 versions are there's a black model, a blue model, yellow, and red. And the games are on the black model you got Sonic the Hedgehog, Puyo Puyo 2, Outrun, Royal Stone. Blue variant includes Sonic Chaos, Gunstar Heroes, Sylvan
Ooh.
Tale, Baku Baku Animal. Yellow Game Gear has Shining Force Gaiden Ensei Janshin no Kunihei, Shining Force The Sword of Haija, Shining Force Gaiden Final Conflict, and Nazo Puyo Aruru no Ru. The red version comes with Revelations, the Demon Slayer, Megami Tensei Gaiden, Last Bible Special, the GG Shinobi, and Columns. Those are the 4 versions. If I was even considering buying any of them, I'd probably only get the black model. But these things are so tiny, they're going to be about 50 each. And if you buy the pack that comes with all 4 for $250, they include a magnifying glass attachment so you can actually see what you're doing.
That brings me back to the days of when I owned a Game Boy Advance. I didn't own a Game Boy Color or a regular Game Boy or a Game Boy Advance SP. I only ever had the Game Boy Advance. But I remember I bought an accessory
Delight.
package for it once, and it came with like an extra long like link cable. It came with a rechargeable battery, and it also came with like a magnifying glass attachment for the screen, so you just like clip it on the Game Boy, and it also had like a light on it too. So like I loved it because like the screen looked bigger to me, and I could play Pokemon at night. It was awesome.
Remember when you used to need the light, or you'd be driving by traffic lights to play at night?
Dude, yes, I would totally do that. And then, like, when we hit a red light, like under a traffic light, I'd be like, yes. I'd be like, all right, I gotta do this.
How long do you guys think before someone gets Doom running on one?
Probably not long. As of now, the Game Gear micro consoles are available for pre-order in Japan and will ship on October 6th. However, there's no word yet on when or if there will be a Western release.
If they're not a Western release, I know lots of people who will pay top dollar to have them imported. That's always the case.
Oh, for sure. I feel like they're mainly starting Japan just because Sega is super big in Japan. Like it's way more popular there than here in the US.
Yeah, that makes total sense. I mean, have you seen the Sega building in Japan?
No, I have not actually.
Nope.
Yeah, it's nuts. Like the Sega, like not like their not their corporate headquarters, but like their arcade.
I'm gonna have
It's
to
huge.
I'm gonna have to look it up after this. Next up, we got a new Star Wars game reportedly being revealed on June 9th, so 4 more days. This is speculated to be the previously leaked Star Wars Project Maverick that we talked about on the podcast before, which I don't believe Jason was here for that one. So I'll just give you the rundown. It's basically, it was leaked called Project Maverick with a screenshot of like 4 X-Wings flying towards a bunch of Imperial Star Destroyers. So it's speculated to be like a...
Rogue Squadron 2.
Yeah, basically. So
Yes, please.
So that's what we are assuming the leak is, or that the announcement is going to be about. And the report comes from the Star Wars page, Bespin Bulletin, a source that has proven reliable in the past and is trusted by many fans of the long-running and popular sci-fi franchise.
Nice.
Yeah, I hope it is because I'm very curious to see some gameplay of this because I'm not typically a fan of flying games. However, I love Star Wars and I will definitely play a Star Wars flying game.
Flying games were the shit. The first Rogue Squadron was fun as hell. Crimson Skies on the Xbox
I was gonna
was fun as
say,
hell.
I was gonna say
the
the one game that I really loved that was a pilot game was definitely Crimson Skies. That game was legit.
So I actually did not know how excited I would be to hear that there was a possibility of another like Rogue Squadron type game.
Yeah, I'll send you the picture of it, of the leaked image, a little later. Next up, we got rumors of a Bloodborne remaster coming to
Please.
PS5 and PC.
Please, yes.
Ooh.
I need it.
The source of the rumor
I need it.
the source of the rumor hasn't established a track record quite yet, so it's best to not get too excited. However, two well-known video game Twitter tipsters, both at Nibelian and at Wario64, recently both made mention of the possibility, and both recently linked to a video by PC Gaming Inquisition, a relatively unknown YouTuber who claims to have early information about the Bloodborne remaster. And it's basically, judging from this, it sounds like those two people who actually have a good track record are like giving this guy like good word, like they're backing him up.
Yeah. See, and I'd forgotten about it, but I heard way back, probably 5 or 6 months now, maybe even longer, from another channel that I watched, that there was like whispers of Bloodborne, but nothing at all concrete. So if that is true, I'm very, very excited, because that is my favorite game in the Souls series. I just don't have a PS4 anymore.
And then
I can't play my favorite game in the whole fucking series.
the rumors were also backed by a popular Twitch streamer and Twitter user, Casey Explosion, who wrote on Twitter that a trusted source confirmed the remaster in return for a $100 charity donation.
Damn.
Woo.
So, I mean, I haven't played Bloodborne, however, I've seen video, and I do like Souls games, even though I only beat Dark Souls 1.
Like, if you like the more smooth and fast-paced feel of 3, like, from what you've played of it, like, take that up to 10,
Ooh.
and that's Bloodborne.
Ooh. Yeah, I'll definitely be playing it if these rumors prove true. Next story, a new Halo project is in the works according to 343 Industries job listing. And this job listing states 343 Industries is looking for a senior producer to work with our core services team to help develop a new project in the Halo universe. Obviously, we know Halo Infinite is coming out, so it's definitely probably not this. Especially since it's supposed to release in what, like 4 months.
Yeah.
But I doubt it would be the next game after Infinite, which makes me think, as I was telling you guys a little before the podcast, that possibly Halo Wars 3 or Halo Battle Royale, especially because I know they made a statement saying, like, when Halo Infinite was first announced, that Halo Infinite wouldn't have any Battle Royale. However, they didn't mention that they wouldn't consider making a Battle Royale game.
I honestly hope not, as far as Battle Royale goes, solely because I'm horrible at Battle Royale.
Dude,
I know I won't like it.
a Battle Royale in Halo would be so sick in my eyes.
Yeah, if you're good at it. I suck at shooters, period.
Like, there's just so much you could do with it, especially like with the map itself. Like, there's so many cool environments in Halo that I would be super stoked for this. But only time will tell. Let's see here.
Yeah, it's for a Halo Battle Royale. In my personal opinion, I think it'd be really interesting. Only because Halo, when you compare it to like Fortnite, like Call of Duty Warzone, when you compare it to a lot of the other Battle Royales, Halo typically tends to be a more floaty FPS, if that makes sense. So like, I feel like the pace would definitely be different.
It definitely would be a tad weird. I do think it'd be interesting though, just because like, obviously not in the original Halos, but in the newer ones, you have all those armor abilities that would be interesting pickups. You can get like your jetpack or I think they made sprint permanent instead of a power up, but like you got your armor lock and stuff like that. So I think it would be really interesting. especially when it comes to vehicles. I just like I don't know. It feels like it would handle kind of weird as a battle royale because I get what you're saying, Pedro.
Yeah.
But as I said, sir, only time will tell. And then I have two last stories. Obviously, both of these are to do with what's been happening in the past 2 weeks now, I believe it's been. With the
Yeah.
whole George Floyd video. Um, this comes from the first story comes from Sony, which we know we're supposed to have an event that was going to be yesterday, which was delayed. Um, on Twitter, PlayStation put out a statement saying, "We have decided to postpone the PlayStation 5 event scheduled for June 4th. While we understand gamers worldwide are excited to see PS5 games, we do not feel that right now is a time for celebration, and for now we want to stand back and allow more important voices to be heard." Um, Obviously, good on Sony for this because obviously, like, they're right. It is time for like other stuff to be going on, and I know they don't want to take away from that. So good on Sony. I don't believe they have released a date on when their event will be held, but we'll definitely keep a lookout for that. Um, what were your guys' thoughts when PlayStation delayed? Did you think they would delay initially?
I'll go first.
Initially, no.
But yeah, I'm right with you, Jason. I didn't think they would. Here's the thing. Here's my opinion on any large company kind of like doing stuff like this is that as an entity, right, the company puts out statements like this, but it's just an entity, like it's just a representative of everyone who works within the company. And whenever a company as a whole puts out a statement like this, or when they try to get involved in some, to me, like it's just really hollow because some dude in their marketing department's like, yeah, you should publish this as the company because it's really good PR,
Yeah.
and that's like really, that's really scummy to me, you know. And it's like I just can't help but think about that whenever I see not just Sony, but like any company, Google,
Uh,
Facebook, Instagram, whatever company put out a statement like this. Although it is good at heart and they're doing it for a good cause, like I can't, they're just doing this for good PR, and
I'm
that's just
See, at
pisses
least
me
they're
off.
conscious enough to take that approach to, because I mean that's what the marketing department is for. It's some other jackass could have been sitting in his chair saying, "Well, why don't we take the approach with everything going on? Let's lighten the mood with what you've been waiting for."
mm,
Like, no, like they could have gone either way. I do feel like they made the right choice, but I mean, same. I'm like, just like you said, I'm right there with you. Is like it does come from that kind of marketing perspective. Is they kind of had to make that choice.
yeah, it's definitely good on them. However, I do feel the same way as you guys. Um, to me, statements like this are, as Pedro said, like marketing things to get good points. Personally,
And points.
I'm not saying that they shouldn't do this, but I am saying that like they can act without announcing it to the world. Making donations or doing any other number of things behind the curtain, because eventually, with the way the world works now, somebody would find out that they're doing something good and it would leak out. And that
Mm-hmm.
to me speaks more than statements made by companies. Um, but that's
Actions
just
speak louder than words.
exactly. I know too that PlayStation and a bunch of companies have also been making donations and matching donations. So I'm not like totally like, oh, just why'd you do the statement? Because like obviously something had to be said. They're not just gonna ignore it. They are a big company. Um, Next and final story. Call of Duty delayed their next season, and also patched in a Black Lives Matter load screen into Modern Warfare and Warzone. So when you load in the game, a splash screen supporting Black Lives Matter pops up. And it reads, "Our community is hurting. The systematic inequalities of our community experiences are once again center stage. Call of Duty and Infinity Ward stand for equality and inclusion. We stand against the racism and injustice on our black communities endure. Until change happens and Black Lives Matter, we will never truly be the community we strive to be." I also know that on top of this, hold on one second. They're also trying to increase ways to be more accurate and to like take more serious action when it comes to racist usernames or remarks said in a game. However, I hope that they are looking over these carefully, because now I feel like you're going to get a slew of people wrongly banned when they didn't do anything, just because people know it will result in an instant ban.
Yeah.
So, I mean, we'll see how this works out. Obviously, the world is on fire right now, and what happened is wrong and should have never happened, and it was a tragedy. So, I mean, obviously, rest in peace, George Floyd, and everyone else who's been wrongly murdered by some of the not good cops. But that, gentlemen, is all I have for today.
And I think we're right up at the hour mark too, right? We're close to it.
We are at 56 minutes and 54 seconds.
Ooh.
So just under the hour mark.
Yeah.
All right. I'll go ahead and do the outro then. So we just want to thank everyone for tuning in yet again to another episode of the Let's Talk About It podcast. We ask that you like, subscribe, share, follow, all of that good stuff. Leave good comments, good ratings, because it affects our stats and makes sure that more people out there can hear and or see us. And I will let Pedro and Jason say anything that may be on their minds before we go ahead and play the outro song.
All I have is thank everybody for listening and coming back.
Yeah, thanks everyone for listening and for your continued support. We still have one bottle of the Let's Talk About It hot sauce, which is very hot. So inquire within if you want a bottle here. So it's really hot.
Speaking of which, that bottle that you left in my house, I mixed it in with some chili for some chili dogs, and oh my lord.
Ooh!
Spicy.
I have an idea of how that went.
Just say I had to add a lot more things to tone it down.
I believe that. All
right, well, thanks, and cue the outro music.